Hey everyone, Shiv here. Alright, so today we're going to talk about something quite near and dear and important to my heart. Oh my god, Shiv, you're showing emotions and feelings. You're talking about a subject outside of Hearthstone. No, I'm not. Alright, so this morning I wake up, which wasn't that long ago from the bedhead, and I look on my Twitter and I see people crying, I see a bunch of people celebrating, and then I look and go, oh, about fucking time. So apparently Blizzard's decided to change one card after massive, and I do mean massive amounts of people complaining saying, hey, this card is broken as fuck. And of course we are talking about The Undertaker! Yes, the one card that decided more fucking games than any other fucking card. The one card that forced you to basically have early game options than any other card. This card fucking affected the meta in such a toxic, cancerous fucking way that pretty much it boiled down to this. If you didn't have that early answer, you lost. Or the likelihood of you recovering and being able to win was reduced dramatically. I mean, there's never been a card that I can honestly say was more broken than fucking Undertaker. And, you know, I've been around a bit. I have. Like, when Unleash the Hounds used to give fucking all your beast a +1 attack and charge. That was not even as broken as this motherfucker, because you can counter that with a goddamn Defender of Argus. But, you know, they gave it some time, damn near 7 months, before they finally realized that, hey, maybe all, these hundreds of thousands of complaints that we're getting on this card's brokenness are a problem. So they started researching into it, and they started realizing, hey, over half the meta is using this damn card. I wonder if that means it's maybe too powerful. You think? Alright. So now that I've gotten done showing my ass and basically trashing a card and, the rapid response of the Hearthstone development team, let's actually take a look at how this is going to affect things, alright? We're going to break it down to the top 4 classes that play this, and then we're going to go back and look at all the classes and seeing how this is really going to change things up for them in the meta. Alright. Hunters! I'm going to just let this sink in for a second. Well, congratulations, Hunters. Your dominancy in the meta, well, it's probably still going to be really annoying. You're probably still going to eke out some wins here or there, but guess what? You're not going to be relying on the most cheesiest fucking bullshit ever. Sorry. And I used to be a very die-hard Hunter fan. I loved Hunters. I really did. Undertaker destroyed that love. And I'm hoping now that Undertaker is getting brought down to size, I might actually come back and enjoy Hunter again. Rather than going, I'm never playing this fucking class again. Alright. So, what does this mean for Hunters? Oh, well, if you thought this was going to end Hunter aggro, I hate to break this to you. No. The one thing I've learned when it comes to nerfing of anything involved in Hunter, they just get more aggressive. So what does this mean? Face rush, face rush, face rush. You're going to see Wolf Riders. You're going to see fucking Bluegill Warriors. You're going to see a lot of other shit to make up for the damage here. Now, interestingly enough, on average, the Hunter probably got like 2 to 4 damage on this, but where it was really such a brilliant card is how much resources your opponent had to invest into it. Literally in deck design and, what they had available. So, yeah, this is actually going to hurt Hunters a little bit because now they're not having to invest in this. And if you haven't realized, almost everything with charge pretty much only has 1 life until you get to about, 4. Okay, so one thing I'm hoping that will come from this is that Hunters will actually start taking the initiative to come up with newer ways. Now, we saw a couple concepts using Dark Cultist and Snake Traps and some other shit that, could have actually made some sense in giving a little bit mid-range viability here. So I'd like to see some more options within that. I'd like to see some more, I don't know, unique deck designs. There is a control variant that does kind of good in the top end of the meta, but, you know, now that Undertaker's getting brought down to size, it might actually grow in popularity because, oh, look at that. Its aggro is not as toxic as it used to be. It's possible. It's very fucking possible. Alright. Priest. Priest, I think, actually are getting a nasty slap to the face because this pretty much destroys the one archetype that they had, which was Death Rattle, which could either be, which was, well, there was an aggro variant a long time ago, and then there was the more mid-rangey approach, which almost everybody adopted and thought was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. Because here you've got aggro, kind of, and then you have all the shenanigans that priests are known for. Yeah, you want to talk about fucking frustration? That shit was toxic as shit to people, alright? But it did create interesting swings in the meta, because most people don't like Priest. They don't like playing something that feels too reliant on fucking with your opponent. Me, personally, I love the concept. But I will say that this will affect Priest pretty negatively, because Undertaker and Death Rattle in the early game was always a great thing, because just like everybody hated Hunters for doing this, they hated Priests even more, because even once you dealt with it, Priests were just going to use, you know, Thought Steal and fuck you up even more, or Mind Control later on. So yeah, but hey, guess what, Priest, you still have other mid-range and control options, so I don't think you really have a ground to stand on in complaints. Alright, Mage. Okay, this is kind of a weird one to put in here, but yeah. So when Undertaker came out, people started going, hey, you know what, maybe I can make Mage aggro come back. Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, no, it's not a thing. Unfortunately, unless Pyroblast suddenly comes back down to 8, no, it's not a thing. So some mages played around with this in an aggro build, and it kind of worked a little, but consistency, no. But with the advent of GvG and mechs and all that, people quickly grasped on the concept of, hey, Undertaker, and there's a lot of Death Rattles and mechs. It didn't take a fucking rocket scientist to figure this shit out. So they went around on that. And yeah, it actually became really good. It's one of the more consistent decks out there for Mage. So what's this going to do? Well, so Undertaker gets out of there. Does that mean I'm going to stop playing all these minions? Fuck no. What most likely is going to happen here is an Annoyotron is going to go in Undertaker's place. Yes, nowhere near as effective. No, nowhere near as effective. But it's actually a really good defensive option against other types of aggros that might come out there. And because it's got Divine Shield, we'll pretty much cover thy ass. So that's probably what's going to happen there. Or they could go with the, I guess you could go Clockwork Gnome to get fuel for, say, Antonidas, but yeah. Alright. Warlock! Warlock. Now, I saw several people who's like, oh, I love Zoo, and this just killed Zoo. Thank you very much. I'm never playing Hearthstone again. Thank you, fair weather, brand new fans of Hearthstone. First of all, that's not Zoo. That's Death Rattle Zoo. There are so many different incarnations of Zoo throughout the history of Hearthstone. Before it was even called fucking Zoo, because some fucking, I got kicked out of Magic the Gathering, decided to throw a goddamn Magic the Gathering term on it and then claim it. No, that shit existed before then. Back in Alpha, we were playing with that shit. Back in CBT, we were playing aggressive Warlock. I mean, since we actually got our hands on the game, everybody realized, hey, well, fucking Warlock's hero power says that I can lay down aggression and keep pumping out shit out of my hand and just refilling it with my own hero power, and there ain't shit you can do about it. Yeah, it was pretty fucking common sense. Alright, so will this actually affect him all that much? No! Why? Because there are many other options available to Warlock aggro. Matter of fact, they could actually go back to before Naxxramas and play that deck design. I ran up against several people recently doing that on ladder, and they crushed people! They literally were crushing people. It was hilarious. I added them and just started spectating their games. I was like, holy shit. People are like, wait, what the hell is this monstrous? Is this old zoo? What the hell? It's hilarious. It's hilarious funny. So they can go back to that, and it's not even that big of a deal. It really isn't. Oh, but now Nerubian Egg. Yeah. Nerubian Egg goes back to being an anti-AoE card. Big fucking deal. Oh, you don't get the Death Rattle synergy as well as you used to. Big fucking deal. Seriously. Cry me a river. You have other options. There are other things you can do. Stop holding on to this concept that Undertaker will make or break a class. Because it did. It made it to where if you didn't have options, you were fucked. Alright? So they take out something cancerous. But hey, you have options. Look into it. It's a good thing. Don't be afraid. It's all good. Alright. So those are the 4 classes that primarily used it. So now we're going to look at all the classes and see how this is really going to affect them in their designs. Alright. So we start out with Druid. Okay, so will this affect Druid? No, not really. Not really at all. Druids are still going to take Wrath. Druids are still going to take Silences. Druids are still going to ramp. Did Undertaker change anything? Yeah. The viability of playing the fucking Teddy Ruxpin mech. I mean, Anatize, Robo, whatever. So, yeah, he was pretty much being played only as a stopgap to dealing with that early game aggro that you would get from Undertaker. Well, guess what? Now you don't have to worry about him as much. Thus, this guy kind of goes on the shelf with a lot of toys from the 80s. Yeah, I know that's pretty bad. But, alright. Now, there is one deck that Druids used Undertaker with, and that was the Hobo Druid. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of other minions they could easily put into the slot, so I don't think it really affected them that much. Alright. Next up is Hunters. Well, Hunter... Hey, you know what? You could always try to design something new. And you're pretty much going to go face rush anyway, so... But the one cool thing here is now the mirror match is less toxic and it's actually a skill test between opponents rather than who gets Undertaker first. Wish I was joking. That shit fucking happened all the goddamn time and it was annoying as fuck to watch, let alone play in. So it actually boils down to a skill test, but again with cards like Animal Companion, yeah, that skill gets mitigated like a son of a bitch. Alright. Mage! Well, Mage, congratulations, your Frostbolts no longer are labeled as in case of Undertaker. You can now use them on other things like, oh, I don't know, your opponent's face! And combine that with Ice Lance. Yes, the possibility of Dreamsicle or the Frostbolt Ice Lance combinations coming back is actually pretty fucking strong. The reason why it kind of fell out of favor is because Undertaker existed and you were using so many resources to deal with Undertaker that you never had anything left to, you know, activate the Ice Lance. But now when you consider Snow Chugger and Water Elemental, it's a really strong possibility that your fucking face is going to be frozen quite often because of Mage. Yeah, it's gonna happen. Alright. Next up, Paladin. Well, Paladin's really not all that worried. They did get shielded minibots. They were using zombie chows. Okay, so zombie chows gets thrown out of the damn mix now. Shielded minibots are probably still going to show up there. You know, come to think of it, I don't think Paladins are really going to change all that much, to be honest with you, because they really didn't care. Their whole game was about, you know, staving off what you did till they got to their mid game, which is where their curve fucking starts. And then recapping their health, throwing out a shitload of minions, turn 8 comboing, turn 9 dropping out Tyrion, and sitting back and just going lol 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 lol. Oh, and if you didn't hit that exact sequence, you had Lay on Hands. So, I mean, either way, you were good on turn 8. All you had to do was make it there, which isn't that difficult for a Paladin when you consider True Silver Champion, a slew of different minions and spells that can heal. I mean, wasn't that hard. And of course anti-Keelbot. So yeah, Paladins, they're pretty much going Undertaker who? Alright. So, next up is the Priest. Well, Priest, your death rattle is shit, but guess what? You still are going to play almost the exact same game in your mid-range and control. So, cool. Your life just got like a minute fraction easier, I guess. I mean, to be honest, Priest never really had any difficulties dealing with Undertaker. I mean, it was kind of a joke card to begin with. But what I do think is going to happen is the value of Shadow Word Pain is definitely going to get reduced because of the playability of Undertaker has been massively reduced. However, let us not forget Sludge Belcher still exists. Alright? So you'll probably want to tech at least one of those. Alright. Moving on. See, we did PQR Rogue. Rogue. Rogues embraced Undertaker for like a flat second and then said, fuck it, we got better shit to do. Rogues haven't been known for, minion spamming. They're more of efficient minions plus their awesome spells and combinations of tempo trades and this, that, and the other in order to effect a win. That's kind of how Rogues operated. Or they combo synergy, and really Undertaker never fit that at all. So, but congratulations, your backstabs can now be used for something other than Undertaker. You can now actually develop your board a little bit more consistently. So this might actually be kind of a boost for Rogue, which have been struggling a lot. They do have some pretty interesting decks, but they were always getting shat on by Undertaker fucking aggro. It basically said, no, you're not going to get your foot out the door first because you have to deal with my foot. And the moment you deal with my foot, I'm just going to overwhelm you anyway, so have a nice day. So I think for Rogue, they're going to be enjoying a nice little boost because of this, which, to be honest, they rightfully deserve a little bit of help. Okay, Shaman. Some Shaman actually did fuck around with the Undertaker combos and this, that, and the other, just to basically stall out and allow them to get to more of their control mid-game and, lightning storm the shit out of their opponent and then rush everything in. This happened quite often. But now, that's going to fade away, but they have other options. They'll pretty much go back to the mechs. But what's really cool here is now Shamans are most likely going to look at Lightning Bolt in a different light. It's like, well, hey, you're pretty much my go-to for dealing with Undertaker. Now, I think I'd just much rather have a Crackle, 2 mana for possibly fuck ton of damage. So that seems a little bit more relevant. So, Shamans are going to be in a good spot. But at the same time, them losing the ability of possibly getting Death Rattle Synergy and having more deck design or slots focused on dealing with a strategy rather than countering one card, it's a 50-50, to be perfectly honest. But I still think Shamans are going to be in a really great place because of the Undertaker nerf. So, alright, next up is Warlock. Okay, I've already made my statements about Warlock. Hey, congratulations, you're just going back to another type of zoo that did not use Undertaker. Seriously, that's it. Handlock, on the other hand, they're going to get a little bit of relief, but not much. I mean, when have you ever seen Undertaker really spiral out of control against a Handlock? Seriously, they run Iron Beak Owls for a fucking reason. Besides, ancient watchers. So, with Undertaker seeing less play, we're probably going to see a few change-ups in Handlock. Not overly dramatic, but some of the more aggressive counters that they had may fall out of favor, but that's more of a let's see what the meta does kind of approach, as Handlocks have always done. They're a very thought-out and monotonous deck. They take a look at what's going on, and they tweak as needed. So, Alright, and the last one we're going to talk about here is Warrior. Okay, so pretty much when dealing with Undertaker, Warrior's primary and predominantly only answer was one card, and that was the Fiery War Axe. Now, there were double card combinations you could do, one involving an execute, which, by the way, is a horrible, horrible fucking thing, and always made me laugh when I was able to pull it off. But if you were pretty much, every time you were mulliganing against certain classes, you were forced to go for that axe. You were always praying for that fucking axe. And if you didn't get it, the likelihood you were going to win dropped. Now, this wasn't to say that not getting it was a guaranteed loss, but it did make things very, very difficult. Alright? When certain deck designs involving the Undertaker were basically able to allow the Undertaker to stay on the board and keep growing beyond the ability for, say, a Fiery War Axe to be able to deal with, it became problematic. And then when you could deal with it, you had to spend a card that would have been much more important later on down the line on something that was a 1-drop. You know, I don't really know how else I could say this, but this card was broken as fuck. So, but now, congratulations, Warriors, because this is probably going to see less play. You're having less issues dealing with it. And even if they do grow it, congratulations, your Fire War Axe is still going to knock the shit out of it. So, yeah, I think Warriors are definitely going to be in a really good spot. They can focus more on trying to get certain other cards. Because I've seen Warriors, they'll be like, I really want to keep this hand because, you know, I'm facing a hunter, but fuck it, I need the Fiery War Axe. I've seen it. I've heard this mentality, and it's just, oh my god. When you can no longer play your actual deck, but have to play counter to somebody else's deck before you can even get to your deck, that sucks. Alright, so I honestly feel the Undertaker nerf, it was warranted, needed, and is actually going to be a surprising benefit to the meta. Alright, so we're going to get on my soapbox here. Just because a card that you like is something that you've become reliant on, it's your crutch, does not mean it is a bad thing. It does not mean it's a good thing either. However, when you look at something and you realize that its impact within the environment that it's in is so dramatic that it literally forces so many other things to happen in order to deal with it, or the increased possibility of losing, then it really becomes obvious that a real hard look at said thing needs to happen. In the case of Undertaker, almost 7 months now we have had to deal with this card. And in that time, I counted hundreds of thousands of complaints on this card. From the average player to the pro level player. Most people who take this game seriously in a competitive nature find the card annoying, stupid, and broken. And they will full-heartedly admit that while they're playing it. No, the card's broken, but fuck it, I want to win. I've heard this statement uttered many times from pro level players. When you ask them, hey, if you could ban one card from the game, which card would it be? 99% said Undertaker. 1% actually said Innervate, which I thought was hilariously funny because that's another broken card, but, you know, that'll never change. But don't yell at people for saying, oh, this card is literally broken. It's their opinion. They're entitled to it. Calling them a bunch of crybabies, calling them a bunch of casuals, or some of the other nasty and derogatory, flaming hate speech I've seen all over the forums since this has come out. You're a child. Grow the fuck up. Alright? People are entitled to like and not like something. And people are entitled to say, hey, I really wish they would do something about this card because it feels a little imbalanced. They're allowed to say these things. Hey, and guess what? You're allowed to act like an asshole too and show everybody that you're an asshole. So there's not much I could say about this. But you know what? Hearthstone community is supposed to be better than League of Legends and a lot of other communities that are basically built around the toxicity of the lowest common denominator of gamers. let's actually try to pretend like that exists. Alright. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Hopefully I'll be streaming here shortly. Have a nice day.